Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Monday. It is we'll call it an ice day because we are not in the building because it is a little too icy outside. So if you are watching this video, I want you to make sure that you come to class today at 10:25 or 12:20 for Mrs. McGuff's class. If you happen to miss the 10:25 class, if you're in my homeroom, you can feel free to come to the 12:20 class, but with the understanding that you'd be missing math and science. So in order to be marked present for today, you need to make sure you're coming to all of your classes. Okay, so stop making me laugh. You'll make me poo my pants. Get it? Because it's a puma. And it's talking about going potty. I know it's cheesy, but I feel great because this is a cheese grater, and that's how you spell it. So it would be a homophone. Great and great, G-R-E-A-T, are spelled differently. All right, let's get started. So, washing dishes, can be very draining. I want you to think about what makes this a pun. What word is this pun playing with? What are the two different meanings of this word? And what makes this pun funny? Washing dishes can be very draining. Okay, well, the word draining here is a homograph. We're going to think about this in two different terms. Draining as in very tiring, right? Exhausting. Washing dishes can be very exhausting. Or draining as in the water is draining down the sink drain, okay? So draining is the word that it is playing with. And it's funny because it's saying, oh, it can be so draining, so tiring, but really the water that you're washing the dishes with is really just going down the drain. So our essential question, how and why do writers play with words? And our focusing question is, how can wordplay create confusion and humor? So in this lesson today and tomorrow, we're going to be writing our focusing question task already for how can wordplay create confusion and humor. So today we're going to be looking at what does a deeper exploration of wordplay and who's on first reveal. Okay, so let's read the directions. Read the skit, Who's on First. Highlight or list the names of the baseball players on Abbott's team. Hint, there are 8. Then in the right column, explain how the players' names cause confusion and misunderstanding between Abbott and Costello. So what I want you to do is you have two options here. You can get your workbook, your Module 2 workbook, and open up to handout 3A. Or, let me get to that screen really quickly. You can head over to materials for today's lesson and click on handout 3A. This is the PDF version, so I want you to remember, when you click on this, it's not going to let you write on this the same way that you could in your workbook. So it actually might be very beneficial for you to use your workbook for this. If you can't find it, you can use this for now. Okay, so we're going to be reading through the transcript of the comedy skit that we watched last week, Who's on First. So this is just typed out written version of what we watched before. We're going to be explaining how the players' names are causing confusion in this scene and how do the players' names cause Abbott and Costello to misunderstand each other. So we're going to be answering that question here. You're going to want to write what we come up with together in this column, in each of these columns, so you can reference that when you're doing your focusing question task. So I just want you to make note of these numbers here. These are kind of line numbers. So this is line 1, this is line 2, 3, 4, and then here's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let me go on to the next page and show you. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so you can take note of that. Okay, so I'm going to read through the entire, just actually the first 3 sections up to 34, and then we're going to answer that question. Now notice here it says Abbott. That means Abbott is speaking, and then Costello is speaking here. So I'm not necessarily going to read each of these names, but I want you to kind of follow along and take note of who's speaking as I'm reading those. And I'll try to do my best to change the tone or any of those elements of delivery that we discussed last week to help you differentiate between the two.
Well, Costello, I'm going to New York with you. You know, Bucky Harris, the Yankees manager, gave me a job as coach for as long as you're on the team. Look, Abbott, if you're the coach, you must know all the players.
I certainly do.
Well, you know, I've never met the guys, so you'll have to tell me their names, and then I'll know who's playing on the team.
Well, I'll tell you their names, but you know, it seems to me they give these ball players nowadays very peculiar names.
You mean funny names?
Strange names, pet names. Well, let's see. We have on the bags who's on first, what's on second, I don't know is on third.
That's what I want to find out.
I say who's on first, what's on second, I don't know is on third.
Are you the manager?
Yes.
You going to be the coach too?
Yes.
And you don't know the fellas' names?
Well, I should.
Well then, who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name. Who? The guy on first. Who? The first baseman. Who? The guy playing. Who is on first? I'm asking you who's on first. That's the man's name. That's whose name.
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me. That's it. That's who.
Yes.
Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to explain how the players' names are causing confusion in this scene. How do the players' names cause Abbott and Costello to misunderstand each other? So first things first, let's go on and see if we can highlight some of the players' names here. Okay, so I want you to scan through. Let's see, I'm going to annotate here, highlight. So I've got who's on first, what's on second, and I don't know's on third. So I said Abbott tells Costello 3 players' names. Who, what, and I don't know. Costello misunderstands, and he thinks Coach Abbott doesn't know their names. So he responds, that's what I want to find out. Okay, so we explained how the players' names are causing confusion in this scene. How do the players' names cause Abbott and Costello to misunderstand each other? So we've got who, what, and I don't know is what Abbott is telling Costello. But Costello thinks he has no idea what he's talking about because he's saying who, what, and I don't know. So, let me go on to the next page. Now, let's do the second part. Explain how the players' names are causing confusion. So, Abbott tells Costello that the first baseman's name is who. So, let me go right here. Who, all this who's on first. Who? There we go. This confuses Costello because who is a question word. When Abbott tells him who is on first base, Costello thinks Abbott is asking him the player's name and he doesn't know, right? So he's saying, who's on first? Yes, right? But he thinks he's asking him a question, but he's not. He's making a statement here. I mean the fellow's name. And he's responding, who? But Costello thinks he's asking a question when he's not. Notice, this is where it becomes very important that we notice this punctuation, right? It's a period. Okay, so we know that he's saying who, period, not who, question mark. The guy on first, who, period, not question mark. The first baseman, who, period, not question mark. Okay, so what I want you to do is you're going to go to, line 69 to 74. And you're going to highlight the player's name in this section and explain how the player's names cause confusion and misunderstanding. Now, really quickly, before we do this, if you did not copy down into your workbook what I just showed for the last 2 sections, I want you to go on back and I want you to do that. And then come back to this part. Pause the video and do numbers 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so 69 to 74 is just this section. Costello says, what's the guy's name on first base? No, what is on second? Not asking you who's on second. Who's on first? I don't know. He's on third. We're not talking about him. So we have what? What's the guy's name on first base? And he responds, no, what is on second base? Because he thinks he's saying, what is the guy's name on first? Just like if I were to say, John is the guy's name on first base, right? That's what Abbott thinks Costello is saying, but really he's asking him a question. I'm not asking you who's on second. No, who's on first? Well, I don't know. But when he responds this by saying, I don't know, Abbott thinks he is saying that I don't know is on third. Okay? So, Costello is still misunderstanding Abbott after asking what's the guy's name on first. Abbott corrects him by saying that what is on second. When Costello says, I don't know, to answer Abbott's question, Abbott says he's on third. Okay, so there's a lot of misunderstanding here, and all that we're doing in this box over here is we're just explaining that misunderstanding to try to make sense of it. So if you don't have this in your book, you might want to go ahead and copy it down. Now you're going to read lines 94 to 99. That's just from here to here. And you're going to highlight the players' names in this section. You're going to explain how the players' names cause confusion and misunderstanding between the characters. So the same thing that we just did. So you can go ahead and pause the video now to do that. Costello says, look, you got an outfield? Sure. The left fielder's name? Why? I just thought I'd ask you. Well, I just thought I'd tell you. So he thinks, let's see, Abbott is responding with why as the left fielder's name, but Costello thinks he's asking him, why do you want to know the left fielder's name? Okay. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go to your check for understanding in Schoology. So go back to materials for today's lesson. We're going to go to Module 2, Day 3, GMT Check for Understanding. Okay, and in there you're going to answer this question. In your journal, write 3 to 4 sentences in response to this question. What is humorous or funny about the skit? And support your ideas with details from the text. So in order to get full credit for this, you need to have evidence from the text to prove what is humorous or funny about the skit. So go ahead and pause the video now and do that. Okay, so we're just going to go over your focusing question task really quickly because we're going to collect some evidence hopefully today. This is why it's important to come to class because we may not get to this part today with the class and then we'll be doing it tomorrow. So make sure you're coming to class. So you're actually writing an explanatory paragraph. Even though for Module 2 we're moving towards narrative writing, we're still doing what we just did all of Module 1, except with our new information. So purpose. This task will give you an opportunity to express your understanding so far of the first focusing question. How can wordplay create confusion and humor? As it relates to Abbott and Costello's famous who's on first routine. Notice how who's on first is written with capital W, capital F, and quotation marks and question mark. Writing about wordplay and who's on first will help prepare you to encounter wordplay in the module's anchor text, Norton Juster's The Phantom Tollbooth. For the past several lessons, you've been watching, studying, and even performing pieces of Abbott and Costello's famous fast-paced comedy routine, Who's on First? How do certain words in this routine cause confusion and misunderstanding between the characters? How does this wordplay create humor for the audience? Your task, write a well-developed paragraph. So now we're going back to one paragraph to explain how words create both confusion and humor in Who's on First. And then you'll support your ideas with specific examples from the comedy routine. So you'll need a topic sentence, a topic statement that states how wordplay causes confusion and humor in Who's on First, evidence from Who's on First that shows how words cause confusion and humor, including necessary context. Remember that beginning part that explains what's happening. The elaboration of the evidence that explains the importance of the wordplay, and a concluding statement that reinforces the overall main idea of your paragraph. You need correct spelling, correct punctuation, correct capitalization, and correct use of the word wordplay at least one time. So what I want you to think about is what evidence from this skit best shows how words create both humor and confusion. So what you're going to do is you're going to go through the whole skit, all of the pages, and you're going to read over the entire thing. You're going to review your notes on handout 3A. You're going to highlight lines from 2 different sections that provide the best evidence of how wordplay causes confusion and humor. Explain why this is the best evidence. This is that you can use this sentence started. This is the best evidence of how wordplay causes confusion in the skit because. Okay, so you're going to have a check for understanding number 2 in your Instinct journal to do this check for understanding and explain this. So you just need to make sure that you have the highlighted lines. Actually, let me pull it up for you. Give me one second. My apologies. I was wrong on the name of the assignment. It's going to be M2D3, Focusing Question Task 1 Planner. So here are the instructions again. Take out your copy of handout 3A in your workbook. Highlight your 2 best pieces of evidence on the graphic organizer. Then you're going to copy and paste your 2 best pieces of evidence and elaboration below. So this is going to look a little bit different. So you're going to actually type in here your evidence and the line number. Your evidence and the line number. Okay, and then, do I want you to, give me one second. You can use this sentence frame here for your elaboration. This evidence best shows how wordplay causes confusion in the skit because, and then you'll explain that here. Okay, we are not going to go on to the next part today. So the only thing that you need to have done in this planner is the evidence, line number, and elaboration. Evidence, line number, and elaboration. Okay, and when you're done with that, you do not need to submit it today because we're going to continue tomorrow. Okay, good job today, and I will see you in school tomorrow.